Another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. We're doing it live again. I'll write it. We'll do it live.
It sucks.
We got Tommy Marquez, Lauren Khalil, and Brian Friend here. I'm Sean Woodland. We're going to preview the women's side of things. We did the men's side of the house on Tuesday. Today we're here to do the women's side and to talk about a little news. Things continue to trickle out now about the 2023 NOBULL CrossFit Games. We have a new test that has been revealed. I'm getting used to saying test right now. I'm going to try to just get that into my brain.
I get to hit you with our Thor's hammer every time.
And if you're wondering why they're using that nomenclature, their logic, and by there I mean CrossFit, is that you work out in the gym to prepare to test yourself, and a test is part of an event. That's the logic. So okay, that's what we're doing. So I just have to practice.
Get the reps in.
You got to practice more than anyone.
I know, right? Because I'm really gonna try to not
talking about the game.
No,
talking about
not
practice.
a game. Practice. Let's talk about our sponsor for today. So let's get this out of the way. Let's pay some bills. Working against gravity. It is summer. It is upon us. If you guys want to get yourself in, budgie smuggler shape, bikini shape. You can work out, but you got to get it dialed in the kitchen as well. And that is where Working Against Gravity comes in. And Tommy's going to tell you all about them. And while he does, you can scan this QR code on your screen if you're watching this live to get $50 off your first month. Tommy, tell the good people about Working Against Gravity.
You don't have to just get in bikini shape or budgie smuggler shape. You can get in any shape, but just better shape.
Better shape.
Improve your general health and wellness. Nailing down your nutrition is a big part of that. WAG's worked with over 30,000 clients. They've got a team of certified nutrition coaches that can work with you one-on-one. You get matched with a coach. They'll give you your own macronutrient profile that will fit with any dietary restrictions or needs that you have. You'll get weekly expert guidance. You get to check in with your coach weekly and make adjustments as you check in and provide some feedback. They also do one-time weight loss meal plans, personalized for your goals as well. I actually just spoke with my coach this week about how we're going to attack the games, because it's not just a one-size-fits-all. You adjust strategy accordingly. For me at the games, we always adjust from tracking strictly to, hey, here's some guidelines you want to fit in, just so I can maybe sneak in a few wobbly pops at the end of the day.
Them ice cream sandwiches.
Oh, yeah. Those are
that's
best.
Happening.
But if you guys are interested in getting your own nutrition coach and getting things dialed in today, you can go to workingagainstgravity.com. They have a tab, Get a Coach, at the top. You can learn more about how their setup works, about how their approach fits, as well as a variety of membership options. Like Sean said, if you scan the code or use the code ELITE at their website, you get $50 off your first month of coaching. That way you can try it at a discount, see if it's right for you, and you start moving the needle on your fitness as well today.
All right. Whoa, what happened there?
Whoa.
Big
Whoa.
Working Against Gravity. There it is one more time. Okay.
Sean's career just flashed
I
before
know.
his eyes.
What just happened?
His voice.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that was a scare.
Have you ever lost your voice from an event?
I've been
Like
really
during
hoarse. I've been really hoarse before. And usually what happens is that it's like building up calluses. Day one, I pretty much feel it. And then after that, it's like you're good to go. But yeah, I don't think I've ever had like a serious problem. Larry Moss, who's one of the floor announcers, awesome dude, turned me on to this stuff called like Singer's throat spray that I just keep.
I've used that.
So, yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. So let's talk about the news that happened, because we just had today, we have a test that has been revealed, and through the magic of technology, if you're watching this live, I'm going to show everybody that. There you go. Boom. It's Big Chipper. Individual test number 2, 4-time, 10 pig flips, 25 chest to bar pull-ups, 50 toes to bar, 100 wall ball shots, and then we're going back down, 50 toes to bar, 25 chest to bar pull-ups, and we end on the pig. And I love I think you can see Roman Krennikov, one of the top comments there, just with this.
That's like right in line with what was it, the Capitol last year when he walked up to Boz and just goes hard, shakes his hand.
What do you guys think? This is be a good one.
This feels just like a classic North Park, Friday morning, Saturday morning, any day of the week, kind of a morning, mid-morning type test where you get to get outside, get some implements that you're not normally get to your hands on, get to do it in a way that's really tough to replicate, maybe in your gym. I mean, the pig flip's tough, but Yeah, it just feels like a classic North Park test.
The interesting thing to me about this is now we've had the pig 3 consecutive years. We had it 2 years ago, early in the weekend, also event 2 and there was I think it was a sled pull and a pig leading into 48 consecutive muscle ups, where the muscle ups were, I mean, obviously you have to be able to move the pig, but the muscle ups were a huge component of that workout. Last year, pig is a buy-in for the capital, basically. It clearly was a separator where you had people coming off minutes ahead of other people on those reps. But a good example is like Christy Aramo. She's not the biggest girl out there, going to move the pig incredibly well, but able to make up a lot of time on the run. But ultimately, that workout came down to the last part of the workout more than anything else, and how well you can move those other odd objects. And now we see pig here again in North Park again, 3 years in a row. And I don't know how critical it's going to be to the workout. So it's interesting to me. The pig shows up 3 consecutive years, probably in North Park 3 consecutive times. And I'm not sure how critical it is as like a deciding factor in any of those 3 workouts.
You think back to 2015 in the soccer chipper, the pig was Matt Fraser's undoing. He had never touched one before.
Well, wasn't the rope climbs too?
Well, it was the rope climbs as a byproduct of what happened on the pig, right?
Because that was the event after.
He didn't know how to lift the pig because he'd never done the technique. So he was using a ton of bicep to effectively curl the pig up and get it over. His arms were blown up, couldn't do the rope climbs, and then just coincidentally, Ben Smith smashed that one, and you made up almost 100 points in that. You assume most athletes who have been at the games for a while at least have figured out some technique. Maybe some young guns are thinking, hey, I'll just do it, and you blow up your arms a little bit for these chest to bar pull-ups and hanging on the bar for the toes to bar. But you don't know. I'd be really excited to see the 10 flips at the end when everybody's at a high heart rate, everybody's working hard. And now you're going to try and maybe make a push or try and track someone down during these flips. It's a really tough ask for some of these athletes, and it could lead to some fireworks.
What do you guys think about that time cap?
It's aggressive, but I mean, for these guys, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be halfway through that in that time.
As they're releasing these tests, there's always this thought of, is this the full picture, or is there some element of this test that we don't yet know? And in this case, the time cap is a nice clue. If you start to kind of piece out how long those things take, you can kind of figure out for yourself if it makes sense to maybe do half the wall balls with a heavy wall ball, or to mandate a gymnastic skip on a chest to bar. Either of those things would kind of add a little bit of time to those parts of the workout. So there's always the possibility that there are small nuances of this workout that we don't know yet that could impact, especially the time domain.
Yeah, Scott mentioned getting Mitchell Hooper on the Big Flip demo team. He actually commented on that pose. If you're looking at it, he said, "Hey, can I just come just for the pig?"
Yeah,
like that. Actually,
that would be awesome to watch.
Mitchell Hooper's a great character, and you'll probably see him in the Rogue Invitational, and he always, chops it up with the CrossFit athletes. He's out there. He's done stuff with Danny Spiegel. He's a great ambassador for not only strongman but also for CrossFit. So I would love to see that guy get a hold of the pig.
Totally,
Sean, if you can pull up Eric Cordy's comments there, I think this is actually a really good. Brent Fikowski on chippers has a history. In fact, if you guys are longstanding fans of Talking Elite Fitness, you might remember when we used to do numbers games episodes years ago, and we did
stuff right there.
Oh yeah, and we did a specific study on Brent Fikowski and chippers, and it turns out that he wins them almost every time he does them, with one exception, and it's when there's high volume, low skill gymnastics, i.e. pull-ups and toes to bars that come up in big chunks. So one of the things I really like about this workout is that you give him 20 pig flips, 100 wall balls, I'm taking Fikowski to do extremely well. You give him 100 toes to bar, 50 chest to bar, I'm picking him towards the bottom half of the field. You throw them in the blender together, and now we're talking about some of those blended parts of the Venn diagram where, not just obviously his strategy, but his fitness and the way to kind of take advantage of your strengths, mitigate your weaknesses. And for an athlete like that, who has a little bit of both in the same test, see how he shakes out in the field. I would say that a top 10 finish on that workout would end up being a good performance for Fikowski. Whereas at first blush, you might think he could possibly win it.
For sure.
Bill in the comments made a good point. He says, what does this mean for the pull-ups in Helen? Does that make you guys think that the pull-up movement is going to be different for Helen now that we see chest to bar in this element?
I don't know. There's 2 schools of thought for that. And I think first is you want to see this level of athlete complete a benchmark workout and just put up incredible times as written. then it's like, to your point, well, they're the best in the world. So do we want to up the skill? I'll be surprised if it's Helen as we all know it. So given the fact that there's chest to bar here, will they do that again? Maybe not.
Yeah.
I doubt they repeat it. So it's either going to be like who knows? Might be a bar muscle up, might be a
ring muscle up.
Ring muscle up could be something. Yeah.
It seems like,
and you can go the other way down to a strict pull up, which I still think is in play. It's not a ton of volume, and it is different than a dynamic movement.
Yeah, but then you get into judging, and that's the thing with those strict movements. It's like that, and go back to, was it regional Nate? And how much that there was just people getting away with things on the quote unquote strict muscle ups. And I don't know if you can find a real concrete way to say this is the standard and this is how we're going to judge it. Fine.
Yeah.
But I'd actually like to see stuff.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. This pig chipper, I think someone else mentioned it. It has Lower Horvath written all over it. It has, to me, I think it has Pat Vellner written all over it too. He is one of the best in the world at grip endurance too. And I think that he's going to be able to, and he's a great deadlifter, great with the pig. I think he can put on a show for this one too.
Okay. Well, there's your, I guess, first full test. Well, no, not really, because we have this, we have some version of Helen. We have the weightlifting total. We have attempts. The gymnastics, whatever it is. We have the 5K.
And the bike.
And the bike. We know the bike's coming back, but we don't know what that's going to.
And it looks like Dave went for a swim in the lake this morning.
Okay.
If he's let's see how his stomach holds.
So I'll just say this: no matter what,
we're good. All right.
No matter if they're swimming, rowing, kayaking, or doing nothing in the lake at all, the fact that he posted it this morning made me laugh.
That's typical Dave.
That's just classic Dave.
Just leaning into it.
The other part, and we haven't mentioned this at all, but it bears worth monitoring, is the air quality in Madison.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
One of friends from the gym brought it to my attention again, because they're from the Midwest, has friends out there. I was like, I hadn't thought about that with all the Canadian wildfires coming down, and I've been monitoring it. For the most part, it's been okay. About 4 or 5 days ago, it was north of 150, so it was bad air quality. Right now, it's 47, so the air quality index is good. Who knows? It could change, but it's just it's one of those.
The reason that I thought about this today is that I have the wonderful honor / privilege of having to record all of like the public safety announcements that they play at Madison.
Oh yeah,
and they had me do one.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it's great.
For air quality.
Air quality, yeah. So it's
that's what was great about the like tornado warning a couple years ago when we were in the campground. Is because it's Sean basically saying seek cover and go like elsewhere, and he's ignoring.
And Sean's not leaving.
Guy's full of crap.
Yeah, he's ignoring his own voice.
I'll be fine in my RV.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's gonna be hot. It's gonna be hot.
It's definitely gonna be. It's going to be.
You totally could have done something else. So there were people around. Did you hear that guy? He always gives accurate information. Take cover, people.
That's a good point. They totally blew it there. Yeah. That guy is the bastion of truth. You should all listen to him. I totally blew it on that one. Okay, let's get into our women's preview. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 5 of our sort of buy or sell and picks, or pick 'em statements. Then we will get into the picks for our top 5, and we'll also throw out rookie of the year, most improved, and what's the other one? Dark horse. So where do you want to start? Let's just start with let's go right into it here.
Okay.
First statement: Emma Lawson will improve on her finish from 2022. And we'll start with you, Tommy, because you're right there.
I'm buying it.
Yeah,
I'm buying Emma Lawson improving. Just looking at semifinals performances and where she shook out against the rest of the field. She was 7th, which is actually just a spot behind. But going in week 1, I think there were some significant improvements across the board from some of these athletes that had time to practice some of the skill set stuff. She just continues to impress me with her performances across the board. I mean, her performance at Rogue kind of backs that up as well. And she, in our recent conversations with her when she was on the show, talking about her training, the things she's dialed in, things she's improved on from a year ago when she was kind of bright-eyed and like, oh my gosh, just trying to drink it in, and she still finished 6th. I think she presents as a more mature version of the teenage athlete that we've seen do well. And I think training alongside Jack Farlow and that kind of tight knit group, it reminds me honestly a lot of Justin and Ellie in that like very controlled, very unique environment with their coach that has dedicated all their time to them, and it seems to pay pretty significant dividends. Almost an alternative take on the camp version. And I don't see why, with the removal of Tia and Mal, she can't improve upon her performance from last year, given from what we've seen.
Well, okay. All right. Because this, I'll be honest with you, this is one of the hardest ones that I think this is the toughest one for me. So with that, I'm going to buy myself some more time and we'll go to Brian next.
Well, you have to look at the women that beat her last year. And like Tommy said, there's no Tia Claire Toomey. There's no Mel O'Brien. One spot ahead of her was Brooke Wells. She's not there. One spot behind her, Cara Saunders. She's not there. 2 spots behind her, or 3 spots behind her, Haley Adams, also not there. So there's a huge opportunity in the top 10 for many women this year. But you do throw some new names back into the mix. Annie Thorsdottir is competing individual again this year. She was on the podium last time we saw her at the games. Emma Carey's back in the field. She beat Emma Lawson at the semifinal. Katrin Davidsdottir is back in the field. Everyone's not quite sure what to expect from her, but we know how good her history at the games is with a slew of top 5, 6 finishes in a row. So it's not a guarantee. And Sean did not put the option of push up here, so that's tough.
Yeah.
I will afford you that luxury, Brian.
But I'm going to go with Tommy. Actually, I'm going to buy a 1 spot improvement, and I think Lawson slides into the 5th spot this year.
Okay, so you are buying Emma Lawson improving on her finish from 2022. Okay, so far we have a consensus building here. So that'll bring us to Lauren. What say you about Emma Lawson?
The consensus is going to continue because, Sean, you said this one was tough for you, but for me, it seems pretty black and white that I'm going to buy this. Tommy, I think, mentioned that Tia, Mel, Brooke, people who finished ahead of her last year are not going to be there at the games this year. And last year, let's not forget that we did see Emma Lawson wearing the leader's jersey in her rookie year. And I don't think that that's not something that we could also see again this year. I see her in the top 5, potentially the top 3, definitely making improvements. Her track record this season has shown that she's already made a lot of improvements, and I have a lot of high hopes for Emma Lawson this year at the games.
Okay. Well, that brings it to me. And I was gonna see if any of you would change my mind. And you know what? I'm gonna
stick to your guns, Sean. Stick to your
I'm
guns.
going to sell this
Let's
one.
hear it. Whoa.
I'm going to sell it. I'm going to say that she finishes top 10. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think she finishes close to 6th, but I don't think she's going to improve. And Brian, you mentioned a couple names of people who, as you guys were going through them, oh yeah, I forgot. Like I totally did not factor in the absence of Tia and Mal and all that. And so you would think that would automatically move Emma up the rankings. I don't know. I think some of those people that are back in the mix, like Emma Carey, I think it's foreshadowing here. I think both Katrin and Annie are probably going to finish ahead of Emma. And it's just like, it's so hard to have that consistency at the games where, you're constantly on an upward trajectory. I do think she will finish top 10. I just don't think it'll be higher than 6th. So, okay. I'm the only one selling that. Already I'm on an island here. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, this will continue in the spirit of finishes. Here's one. Amanda Barnhart will have the best finish of her career, and we'll start with you, Brian.
Okay, well, Amanda Barnhart, 2018, shows up at the games, takes 15th. The next 2 years, which were kind of the strange years at the games, are her 2 best finishes. They're 7th place. So we got to have 6th place or better for her to achieve this goal. And I'm going to be selling that. Last year, she was 14th at the games. I do think that she's going to make an improvement this year and get back inside the top 10. I think that the best she could do this year is match that performance, 7th place. I think I actually have her picked 9th. And I'll release all my rankings this weekend, but I think I have her 9th. I think she does make an improvement. I feel like the HWPO move has been a good one for her. She looked great at semifinals. And I think that all that group of women, those top 6 of the North America East, will be in the mix for the top 10. But it's pretty dense competition up there. I think that some of the other athletes are also improving and will stay ahead of her, even though she'll get back in the top 10.
Okay, so you are selling that. Lauren, you're up next. Amanda Barnhart, this is her career.
I am also selling this. I have her ranked at either 7th or 8th this year. Like Brian said, I think she's going to greatly improve from last year, and moving to HWPO, or training with HWPO rather, and sometimes training there, I think has been a really good move for her. When speaking with her just about the improvements she's made on her weightlifting technique, the improvements she's made with her engine, and just overall body awareness in some of the movements, I think that she's really made strides and she's in a really good headspace. But to get closer to closer than 7th place, so 6th or higher, I just think that the field is too competitive right in that bulk of the women's field. So I think 7th is where we'll see her.
Okay, so that is a
sell.
That's a close. All right, that I'll go next. Oh boy. I like to afford myself the opportunity of going last so I can listen to you guys. I'm going to sell this as well, and pretty much come up with the same rationale as Lauren did, and that is that I just have too many people in that, like, solidly in the top 6. I think that she will be close. I think there's a good chance she could finish top 10. Love the move to HWPO. I think athletically, she is one of the most gifted athletes out there. And I always go back to, I think it was Chaos in 2018, when they got to the snail portion of that event.
Slug.
It was a slug? That's right. Because the snail was the big rolly thing. The slug.
Slug you pull, snail you push.
Right. So the slug, thank you, Brian. She passed like 8 people on that team. Like it was like hers wasn't even loaded. It was incredible. But I just think that top 6 is so solid.
Well, she did the same at the sled at the semifinals this year when she got to pull the sled. It was incredible. So if we get any kind of test that has a horizontal displacement of an odd object, keep your eyes open for Amanda Barnhart.
A horizontal displacement. I am going to use that line in commentary. I'm going to work that in.
I'll throw this out there now. If horizontal displacement of odd object shows up at the games, give me Yellow Jose and Amanda Barnhart.
Love it. All right, Tommy, you're up next. You're going to close this one out.
We're having some hilarious. Barkley's back with another Talladega Nights comment. I like to picture him Lawson in a tuxedo shirt. Lead singer of an angel band. I'm in the front row and I'm hammer drunk.
Oh man.
I'm in lockstep with both of them. I actually have her in 7-8 right now. Reason being that there are some things that I think she will do well, and I think she'll get to showcase her improved technique with that Oli total. But there are some things that is particularly the 5K run and whatever we're going to see from the bike that just traditionally aren't good finishes for her. The fact that I think she finished 14th is, I go back, given how she started, and the first 8 events she had 5 finishes of 23rd or lower, and including 2 finish a finish outside the top 30 and a 29, and still managed to battle her way back into within earshot within the top 10 in the final 2 days was impressive and a testament to her durability across the weekend. I think her ability to get back in the top 10 will be predicated on fixing some of those bottom half finishes and HWPO's attention to detail, and not necessarily just focusing on what you're good at, but cleaning up some of the execution mistakes and things like that. So I have her back inside the top 10, but I think with this women's field, it's a tough sell to see getting inside the top 6, given some of the people that are returning as well, including someone like Emma Carey that I think a lot of people are high on as well.
Okay, next one. Lauren, you will be up first.
Ooh.
Jamie Simmonds, former podium finisher, former open winner, will finish inside the top 10.
This is kind of the same argument that I just made for Amanda, but I'm going to sell this because when I'm looking at the women's field, and maybe it's a little bit of recency bias because we haven't seen her actually at the competing in the games in a couple of years, but I have at least, when I counted them, at least 12 women that I have ahead of Jamie. I'm open to be proven wrong, and I'm probably going to listen to Tommy and Brian give some stats. But when I look at the field and rank my athletes, she doesn't crack the top 10 this year. Sorry.
Okay.
Are you stealing my notes? Like the numbers that you have put together are like spot on with some of the stuff that I have written down. And like,
ooh, I'm just getting good, Tommy.
Right. She got new hair did.
Yeah.
She's just
got my nails did.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
Ready.
All right. I think I'm next, right?
Maybe. You're the one steering this ship.
I don't know. I'm doing 9 things at once here. All right.
That's
So
fair,
I'm
that's
just,
fair,
you
that's
know,
fair.
okay. Let's see.
Sean wrote all these questions for us.
I
and then
did,
he-
and I don't
and
even
then
know
he
the
spent
answers, right?
two nights not sleeping thinking about what he was going to say.
Exactly. The last 2 for me are pretty easy. This one, I'm going to sell this one as well. But I'm going to give myself a little wiggle room. I wouldn't be shocked if given her, veteran experience, because I think experience is highly, I don't want to say underrated, but plays a bigger role than I think a lot of people think at the CrossFit Games. I wouldn't be surprised if she sneaks her way in there, sort of like an Annie Thorstad resurgence moment from 2021. But yeah, this field is so loaded, and I do agree with Lauren on the recency bias thing, and we just haven't seen her a little bit. She's finally 100% healthy after it was a shoulder surgery, right? That she was dealing with.
Yep.
Certainly talented if the tests go her way. Yeah, absolutely could see her inside the top 10. I think she will be a couple spots. I think she'll be like 10 to 15 though when this thing all shakes out. So Tommy, we'll go to you now.
Okay. I am selling this.
Okay.
I have her in a range of 13 to 17. With a you catch a tailwind like maybe 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very much in the same arc as Christy and Amanda last year, who were and I would even say where I think Emma McQuaid's ceiling has been the last couple of years at 12th, sitting around that area where you're in the fight for the top 10, but just unable to notch 1 or 2 of those first, second, or third finishes that kind of give you that extra catapult into the top 10 overall. Now, there was a time when, Jamie Simmonds, when you had a test that was, moderate to light and a ton of upper body pulling endurance, she could be one of the best in the world. I think obviously the shoulder issues and time just catching up a little bit means that maybe that home run ability is somewhat behind you. She's 32. We see women succeed much later into their 30s than the men do in this side of the sport. But I think there's even an argument that she won't be the highest finisher from her region. So
Okay.
And if that's the case, it's hard for me to put you in the top 10.
Yep. Okay. Brian, will this be unanimous?
Well, let's start from the back and say, well, there have been 2 Oceanic women in the top 10 many, many years over the last 8 years or so. So I don't think it's unprecedented to see 2 in the top 10 this year, even without Tia and Cara in the field. But it'd be tough for sure. When you talk about the top 10, I think I've talked about this a couple of times. There were 6 women in North America East that looked amazing at semifinals. They were all head and shoulders above the rest. And if I think those 6 women have a case to potentially take 5 of the top 10 spots. I think the top 3 European women, Laura, Annie, and Gabby, in some order, are also pretty much locks for the top 10. So that if the North American East women take 5 and the Europeans take 3 as that's like a baseline, that only leaves 2 spots. And when you start thinking about, well, could that other North American East woman get in? What about the top 3 women from North America West? That's Alex Kazan, Katrin David's daughter, Ariel Lowen. I would say that, seeing 1 or 2 of them in the top 10 is not unlikely. And then you're probably looking at Ellie Turner and Jamie Simmonds as some other candidates. So this 10 to 15 range that Tommy and Lauren are talking about makes a ton of sense. And if you think about Jamie's career overall at the games, Sean mentioned she was on the podium in 2019. She took 3rd place. And the only other time she's made the top 10 was in 2017, and she was 8th. She's been close a couple times, 11th in 2018, and then 2020 she was 12th on the online portion. But we haven't seen her compete in a live games since 2019. We haven't seen her compete against an entire field at the games as an individual since 2018. So there's a lot of unknown when it comes to Jamie. The things that I will say is going in her favor, She's pretty good at the monostructural stuff. We already see a run and a bike. She's pretty good at the upper body pulling. So you pair the running with the pulling of Helen, that's probably pretty good for her. If you have to give her something to lift, I'd rather see an Olympic weightlifting than a powerlifting test. We already have an Olympic total coming out. So a lot, the pig, if she can move the pig, she should do well on the rest of that workout. I think she'll manage it fine and be kind of, I think that everything we know so far bodes well for her. If they end up swimming, that's another plus in her favor. And I don't know. I just I have a feeling that she's getting better throughout this year. For everything I know, she seems to be healthy. I have her picked 10th, so I'm buying.
Oh, you're buying. I had you selling this, and then you just switched at the end. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Everything about this
I
felt
know.
like
I was
you were
like, wow.
selling.
I know there was so much of a lead up.
I just filled in that graphic, and now I'm gonna change it. There we go.
Give me Jamie Simmonds, 10th place this year at the games.
Wow, just squeaking in there. All right, yeah, that was like an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist there. I'm like, all right, well, that was been decided, and then
wow,
blammo, inside the top 10. Okay, next one, and I will be up first here. I think it's my turn to lead off. Now this is
I'm shocked by that. That caught me off guard.
Yeah, same here. I was like, all right, started thinking about my answer for the next one, and all of a sudden, Brian swerves on me. Okay, better overall finish. Annie Thorisdottir or Katrin Davidsdottir? I will lead this one off. I have very high hopes for Katrin Davidsdottir, and I am going to say Katrin has the better finish. And here's just a little thing I just want to throw out there. I don't know how much bearing it has on anything whatsoever, but I think it's a fun stat, so I'm going to say it. Last time Katrin Davidsdottir missed the CrossFit Games. When was that, Tommy? Was that 2014 that happened when she failed to qualify?
2014.
2014. Yeah. What happened in 2015 when she came back?
Punch was served. I don't know.
She won two straight.
I believe
what
she
happened.
won two straight.
Well,
yes.
and she missed the games last year. Switched up her training. Coming back this year, I thought she looked very impressive at the West semifinal. I think this is going to be a cool comeback story for Katrin Davidsdottir. She enters sort of the twilight of her career. I think that she's going to have the better finish than Annie Thorisdottir. So I'm all in on Katrin Davidsdottir on this one. All right, we will go to who's next. I think Brian's next. We'll go to Brian.
Okay, I'm going to go with Annie. I also think that Katrin is in line for a pretty good year. I think, as I just mentioned, she's got top 10 potential for sure. But I think that Annie has podium potential. I think that second, third, fourth, something like that is a very reasonable outcome for Annie this year based on everything we've seen from her. I mean, in theory, it doesn't make sense. Like, why is she still so good after so long and at the age that she is and with all the wear and tear on her body from competing? But the flip side of that is that, competition experience goes a long way, and she has built up the volume, and her body can handle the games weekend as well as anyone. She's podiumed the last two times we've seen her in a major competition as an individual at both Rogue and the games 2 years ago. And I think that if she's able to last the weekend, which I don't see any reason she shouldn't be, that it's possible we see her on the podium again. I think it'd be more difficult for Katrin to do it.
Okay. So right now we got to split right off the bat. All right. So let's go to, I'll let you go last. Tommy will go last. Lauren, you can go next. Better finish, Katrin or Annie?
So for me, the bigger question is who has more potential to finish on the podium. And I think that's going to be Annie. And that's why I'm going to pick Annie, even though I think that Katrin is going to impress all of us at the games. Again, just speaking with her when she was at HWPO, seeing how well she did at semifinals. I think that she has made vast improvements that maybe we haven't seen in the last 3 to even 4 years. But with Annie, she has that consistency, having a baby, going team, coming back to individual this year. Like, there is no doubt in my mind with Annie. And with Katrin, I still need to see her prove herself against this field at the CrossFit Games.
Okay. So I might be on an island I might be on the island again, Tommy. Are you going to join me on the island, or are you going to go over to the fun side with your friends and point and laugh at me?
What is this, like that movie Couples Retreat? I'm ashamed to have said I've watched a few times where there's like the singles island on the other side.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Lauren's seen it.
I have seen this one.
Probably, it's been on syndication on TBS, so guaranteed Lauren has seen it. I'm buying Annie. So Annie is my choice.
All right. I look forward to your apologies when this is all said and done.
Yeah. I will echo a lot of the sentiments that have been said here. Like, I think Katrin looks to be on a path towards some sort of redemption. She, I think along with Annie, handles a full games weekend as well as anyone in terms of strategy, the ups and downs, the little things that come with knowing what exactly to expect from food, timing, sleep, how you surround yourself with your support system. It feels like this is, this is a tough thing to quantify. I don't think Annie would come back to individual unless she felt like she had a legit shot at winning.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I think that Annie, as well as anyone, understands what it takes to win and consistently place on the podium. Katrin, too, very much so. But I think that belief in Annie is going to be very strong and has been fueled by some phenomenal performances on over the last couple of years.
Okay. I'm the only one that says Katrin. Let's go to the next one, which will be our final one. Tommy, you're going to be up first. We will have the closest margin of victory since 2017. Now that's 2 points. So there's a wide strike zone here.
Should we put the numbers out there for everyone so they know what we're dealing with?
Go for it.
So working backwards, last year, 113 points was the margin between first and second. 2021, 256 points. 2020, 360 points. 2019, 195 points. 2018, 64 points. So in order to buy this, you need a margin of 63 points or less.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
That was good.
Thank you for your numbers chart.
Yeah, I knew that. That's funny because I forget like how badly Tia just beat the snot out of people when she was doing her thing. Like, it just wasn't even funny. All right, what do you think? Closest margin of victory since 2017, Tommy Marquez.
I'm buying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 64 points might be a little bit misleading because I think a lot of people might be surprised that it was within 100 in 2018. A lot of that was cut in half by Laura Horvath winning multiple events, including the finale, when Tia was kind of in cruise control. But I think that there's enough parity amongst the top women overall to close that gap a little bit. And it feels like it's going to be more of what we've seen in the men's side from the last couple of years with Justin and Roman and Ricky, or Justin and Brent and Pat, where the leader will maybe start to separate on the backside of this competition, but there will be a close points race coming into Saturday morning, even, as we start to work our way through some cuts. And then I think there are so many women, I think at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I look at who I have predicted on the podium, I think there are 10 or 11 women that can factor in every single test that comes out there. Based on what we saw from semifinals, I think that lends itself to a much higher amount of parity on this one.
All right. Lauren, you can go second. Closest margin of victory since 2017, buy or sell?
I'm with Tommy on this one. And it does really come down to, when I look at who I've picked for the top 5, it was really hard because the 4 through maybe 8th spot, I feel like you could kind of alternate those athletes. And I mean, maybe we'll talk about it later to see how we have such different athletes in the order, but the same ones are who we're talking about. And I think that, I mean, even going into Sunday, I see that point spread between 1 to 3, even 4 being really close. And it's going to be a dogfight this year. We haven't seen this in the women's field. I mean, since 2017, since 2018. And I think that it's going to make it even more interesting for the fans, for the viewers, for the broadcast side of things, to see the women's field really gunning it for that top podium spot.
Can I add something that I meant to mention? If you obviously remove Tia and Mal, but looking at the other women that are still there on the leaderboard that were in contention last year, all of them, and this adds to the parity argument, had multiple finishes outside of the top 20, with most of them multiple finishes lower than 25th, which is a little bit uncharacteristic given some of the dominance years that we saw in the past. But that means on any given event, there are 60 to 70, if you're lower than 25th, even as high as 80 points after cuts that are up for grabs on a single event based on those finishes. Those are massive point swings.
Yeah.
Massive.
All right. I'll let Brian go last because he would probably have the smartest argument. So I'm gonna buy this as well. And I think it's gonna come down to the final test. I think there's gonna be like 3 people who have a shot, maybe even 4 mathematically. I think we're gonna have one of the most exciting finishes that we have seen since 2017. I'm trying to speak this into existence because I think it would be fantastic for for the viewers and the fans. And I think after it has been, a once in a lifetime type of thing to see an athlete as dominant as Tia. And we've gotten to see a handful. We've seen Rich, we've seen Matt, we've seen now Tia, and what she's done is incredible. But I think we're all ready for what the hell is going to happen in this final test. We don't know who's going to win, and here are the 3 who could do it, and whoever gets across the finish line is going to be your winner. And I think that's what's going to happen this year. And I think you illustrated the point very well, Tommy, is that there's not one athlete who you're like, you go through what you know now and you say, oh yeah, all of these, this person, person X is going to do well at. You can find pitfalls everywhere for just about every athlete. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting. I think it's going to be close. And get your popcorn ready. So, Brian, you get to close us out here. Buy or sell, closest margin of victory since 2017.
You guys all were buying it?
Yes.
I am selling this in a massive way.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Let's hear it.
I think there is, I'm going to just kind of say this boldly. I don't think there's any athlete that's been as good in this sport as Laura Horvath has and has gotten as little recognition for it. In that, everyone knows how I feel about 2019 and 2020. Between 2018, 2021, and 2022, there are zero women competing in this field that have beaten Laura Horvath at the games, and only Danielle Brandon last year was within striking distance of the number that we're looking at to be buying this as a situation. Coming into this season, pretty much everyone would have said that if Tia's not competing, the games winner is going to be either Laura or Mal. Mal's not competing at the games this year, and suddenly everyone thinks that there's a bunch of women in contention. I don't think so. I think Lauren wins this by 100 to 150 points easy. Walks to the victory with the trophy in her hand and a minimum work requirement if it exists as the only thing in her obstacle with the last event to go. And finally, hopefully, gets the recognition for being one of the best 5 women we've ever seen do this sport.
Yeah, I will agree with you on that. It's like she got overshadowed in 2021 because of what Annie Thorisdottir did and because of what Tia Toomey continued to do. Last year, made an incredible run to get herself onto the podium, had the great rookie season, and she does not get talked about enough, I think, when it comes to the upper echelon and the tip-top elite of the sport. And it's because I think she's always just juxtaposed with someone who, yeah, but that was really cool type thing.
Yeah, but what I'm curious is, and I'd be interested to hear what the rest of you think. Do you think she doesn't get the recognition that she deserves from certain outlets? We have sung her praises a ton of times. We have highlighted how good she is in a lot of these competitions. We have done a ton of media covering her in that regard. I think there's lingering memories from 2019 and 2020 in some people's heads where certain outlets like hammered the fact that she burst onto the scene. They highlighted the contrast between 2018 and 2019. Now it's, and some of that you have to cover, right? But I think in the last 2 years, I feel like deservedly so, she's gotten a lot of praise for that. Although there have been moments or storylines that have shown quite brightly, whether it being like Mal's ascension or Tia's all-time great.
Well, and I think another part of the conversation is it's not necessarily that she's not getting the praise, but like when I'm talking about an athlete, if I've recently interviewed them, I can kind of use that to support my case. Where when it comes to Laura, she's really tough to get on for interviews. She doesn't have
Mhm.
a
That's good.
manager. She doesn't, like sometimes I'll message Ben Smith and he's like, yeah, I don't know, shoot her a DM. So she's really hard to get in touch with, to keep having the conversation with her and talking to her about, what have you been working on? Like, what has your biggest improvement? What are some of the weaknesses you're tackling this year? I mean, we know some of them, but just like hearing it from her point of view, I think we lack that in the space, which is why when we go to these competitions, I think it's so fun to finally be able to like flag her down in person and get her on the mic.
Sure.
Brian, I don't think anyone's gonna be shocked if Laura wins, but to make that statement that you think she's going to win going away, my assumption is that you think that whether or not some sort of handstand push-up or deficit handstand push-up shows up, when we all know how she does in that she will have enough tests over the 4 days to make up for whatever points that she gives up there. Is that essentially your argument?
Yeah, I mean, one thing about Laura is that she has a propensity to win multiple events at a CrossFit Games, and that's a pretty difficult thing to do. Now she's only has 6 event wins in her career, but she's got a bunch of other top 5 finishes, and yeah, she's probably due for 1 or 2, pretty bad finishes. But when like Tommy mentioned earlier, when you can back that up with several first, second, thirds, it really, really makes a difference against your top competitors. I don't know. I think that she's been intentional. I think her personality holds her back in terms of some of the limelight for sure. And it has throughout the history of her career. I think that what she said at semifinals was appropriate, is that, she's going to let her fitness speak for herself, and she has her objectives and her goals in mind. I don't know. There's just some athletes that when they get to the CrossFit Games, it's different. It's different watching them there. And I kind of feel that way about Roman, and everyone's a little bit down on him because of the off season. I'm not worried. At a little lesser degree, Lazar Jukic, not that good in the off season. I'm not too worried about him at the games. I think he's going to show up. And I think Laura is the epitome of that kind of athlete, that the game style programming, the longer the weekend, the harder the test, the more variety, the better that she does, despite the fact that she'll take 1 or 2 hits. And yeah, sometimes in sports, doesn't matter what the sport is, you're one of the best to ever do it. And you just happen to have your career coincide with the best to ever do it. And every athlete that happens to is going to get, or a team that happens to is going to have, there were all-time greats all throughout the early 90s in the NBA, but they couldn't do anything about it. The best to ever play was there at the time. Yeah. And he was just beating them, each contender that rose up to the challenge. In this case, she's had to go against Tia in all of those years. And we know Tia is the greatest on the female side without a doubt. So I think Laura's going to capitalize on this opportunity in a big way. I don't think it's going to diminish from the excitement and the drama and the quality of the competition and the weekend, but I think that she's going to show something here that's going to make anyone whose doubts or get their attention a little bit more.
I'm kind of flipping on this.
Okay, well, you want?
I think I might flip on this.
You've got the receipt now. You want to return it? You're selling this?
I do. It's Costco, baby. You got 365 days. Return it in any condition. It's like a TV after Super Bowl.
So Brian has swayed you to his side.
Yeah, and I'm just starting to think about like what's been announced so far.
There's more I want to talk about, Laura. And can we do this? Can we shelve this as we get to our picks? Because there's one thing I do want to bring up, and Brian touched on a little bit. But let's get to our top 5 now. All right, we're just going to run through them really fast. So we got 5 down to 1. So I'll start. Where's my handy dandy sheet? Here we go. Okay. So number 5, I got Annie Thorisdottir. I don't think she's going to make the podium. I think she's going to have a great showing, though. I think she's going to continue to solidify her legacy as one of the greatest of all time. Only woman to compete at the CrossFit Games in 3 different decades. Like that's crazy. Will be in contention for a spot on the podium. I think it'll be close, but I think she winds up inside the top 5, which I think would be an incredible finish for her. We'll go to you, Tommy. Go.
I have her as 5 as well.
Okay.
I think for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned, I think just even in the last couple of years, some of the people that we've seen really blossom on the individual side since Annie last stepped onto the floor in 2021. I think. Danielle Brendan, I think Emma Carey coming back, Emma Lawson, I think Laura, Gabby, all of these women that I think that have continued to stay on this individual track, that continuing to improve. I think just going to make it tough sledding for Annie. I think she will be in contention. I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see her in a podium position at various points throughout the week. But it's I just have a hard time placing her ahead of some other athletes when I look at, all right, what is Annie going to excel at? And I can look around the table and see 2 to 3 women that I think are better than her at a given skill.
This is a good question before we get, has she ever won Spirit of the Games?
Nope.
I don't think she has.
I don't think so.
I need to get the Spirit of the Games list from Chad.
Maybe 2009? Was she 2009 Spirit of the Games?
Could have been.
No, that was Kalipa. Sorry.
Wow. Okay. All right. Let's go to Brian. Who do you got at number 5?
I mentioned it a while ago. Emma Lawson. I think her to move up one spot. I think 5th place is a very great and reasonable finish for her. I certainly think she has a chance to make the podium. I think she has a chance to finish lower than this, but this feels like a pretty good spot for her.
Okay. Emma Lawson at 5. Lauren, your 5th pick.
Gabby McGowan, improvement from last year. She finished 8th, 3 spots up.
Okay. Let's go to number 4. I'm going Emma Carey at number 4. I think Emma Carey going to be Emma Scary. I think she's going to be really good. I think that year off, while I know she didn't, she wanted to be in there competing, I think that helped her sort of refocus her training. And I will say this, I think the Brute crew is going to come out of this looking really good. I think they're going to have some momentum coming out of CrossFit Games. I think all of those athletes are going to perform really well and put them, if they're not already, on the map as one of the premier training crews. But I like Emma Carey. I like her focus. I think she's just a stone cold assassin, and she has that switch. I think she comes back, just misses the podium in 4th place. Tommy.
I have in 4th place, I have Emma Lawson.
Oh.
So I think she will be in podium contention as well. I also think that, coming off of the high that was the games, I think Emma being able to reload and finish on the podium at Rogue was a bit of an eye-opener for her in our discussions and realizing like, hey, this top 10 wasn't just like something that like happened. Like I can contend with these top women, and that's going to reset my training going forward and how I approach it mentally. So I think she will, be in contention. Hey, she might have the white leaders jersey at some point, just like she did last year. But I think it will be a nail biter down to the wire, just missing the podium.
After we talked to her a couple of weeks ago, I'm so impressed with the maturity level.
Yes,
she's just. I wish
crazy.
I was half that dialed in at her age. So
I'm still not dialed in.
Yeah, same here. Ryan.
Well, everyone, while I don't think that it's going to be tight at the top, I think it's going to be extremely tight 2, 3, 4. This was a really difficult decision for me. I ended up putting Danielle Brandon 4th, which was the same place that she finished last year. I was really looking at last year more so than the year before when evaluating her. I think she had a lot of things go her way last year in terms of programming, and a lot of things not go her way in terms of programming. So I think that it was actually a pretty good balance. And if you look at her performances, I think she did 1 less lap than she's supposed to on bike to work. So I don't really know how she would have ended up faring in the mix on that one. She capitalized on speed skill medley, which was a bit of a wild card event. So that went in her favor. There's as I was just going back and forth on this, thinking about the other women that are in the field that I have just slightly ahead of her. I feel like it's a pretty good spot for her to be. Certainly could do better, but I'm picking her 4.
Okay. Lauren.
I also have DB in 4th.
Okay.
And I keep looking at my list and I'm like, I kind of want to change 3 and 4, but I'm going to stick with it.
Okay. That brings us to now our podium. So we're going to start with number 3. I am going to take Catherine Davis' daughter.
Whoa.
Back on the podium. I'm telling you, man. This is the comeback story. I am buying Catherine Davis' daughter. I think that she has really gotten refocused. I think she has a new love for competing. I think she is in a better headspace than she was last year. Everything's going well. I think that Catherine Davis' daughter makes a hell of a comeback. Always performs well at the games. I mean, where's my sheet here? If I go to her, if you look at her finishes, okay, 2021 10th, and then 2020 2nd, 4th, 3rd, 5th, 1st. She has yet to finish lower than 10th when she gets to the games, and she's only finished outside the top 5 once since 2015. I think she makes the podium. I think this is This is gonna be the Annie Thorisdottir story from 2021. Catherine Davids-Outer back on the podium.
Ooh.
I like
She's in third.
that.
Yeah.
Tommy.
In third, I have Gabby McGawa.
Okay.
I think the adjustments, I think she made some hard decisions in the last year, switching up her training, her program, where she's at, and kind of getting a little bit more in lockstep with her bestie and I guess sister-in-law by relationship, Laura Horvath. She's been at Krypton since mid-June. I think this year in particular has proven how much of a good sounding board and training partner having someone like Laura Horvath can be. One thing we talk about for some of the athletes coming across the pond is the heat and the heat adjustment training in Virginia and the swamp weather there.
They don't get much more swampy than
will
that.
certainly help. And I also think her performance at semifinals was an eye opener to everyone, reminding that like even though she had a quote unquote regression at the games, she went from 6th to 8th, and she was someone that everyone, and myself included, I had in the podium discussion last year, coming off of her 6th place finish. She'll be right at home with some of the long games exclusive events. A lot of people forget that she won the Capitol because she was overshadowed by
the person who finished last.
Yeah, the person who finished last, which happens. I think that she will continue her performances from semifinals, but I think over the long run will get edged out by 2 other athletes, but she will fulfill her podium destiny that she's been shooting for since the teenage years.
Sheena says I've lost my mind. Someone says Sean has lost his mind.
Yeah, but Will Brandstetter likes your picks, and Will's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, hey, here's the thing. This is what it's very easy to be safe. It's very easy to do all that. And every time that you pick a top 5 of the games, every time I've done it, I'd be like, well, just should have thrown a dart because I didn't see that coming. So I tried to factor a little bit of that in here. Maybe I'm crazy like a fox. Brian, who's 3?
I also have Gabby McGawa at 3. I think it's a lot of people can look and see, like Tommy said, that bump backwards from 6th to 8th and get a little concerned about that. Again, it's just studying her performances at the games last year. Worst finishes come on speed skill medley, Elizabeth Elevith, and echo press, and sandbag ladder. I don't know that there's going to be 3 gymnastics tests that punishing for her in one year at the games again. And I think that if you look at the strength test, if it is a classic Olympic lifting total, that she can parlay a 26 sandbag into like a 6th place Olympic lifting total, which is, plenty of points. I think she'll be right in the mix with these other top ladies. I don't think she can win, but I do think she can podium.
Okay. Lauren.
3rd is where I have put Emma Lawson.
Oh, on the podium. Okay. See, that's what I'm about.
Yeah, and I keep looking at it and I'm like, maybe DB edges her out, but you know what? I'm going to stick with this. I think this is the year. She's built a lot of confidence in the last year. And I think that she can do it. She can make it on the podium. If not this year, definitely next year.
Okay, now we go to our top 2. I'll lead us off here. I'm going Danielle Brandon. DB Energy silver medal. Going to happen this year. I love the fact that she competes with a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. I know that can be a detriment because I think sort of the book on her is that if she can let things affect her a little bit too much off the competition floor, which can then carry over onto the competition floor. I just the athleticism is there. You know that whatever that gymnastics thing is going to be, I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of handstand element to it. Catherine Davids-Outer might be the only woman who's as good on her hands, handstand walking than Danielle Brandon is. I just think that Danielle has been made. She is one of those athletes who has just been making the steady ascent. I think it continues here, and I think she does get on the podium. I think she finishes in 2nd. Tommy.
I have Danielle Brandon.
All right.
I think athleticism.
Right here.
I think athleticism at the games is heavily rewarded. I think she that's one of her sneaky skills in her back pocket. She will win an event at the games. I thought a little bit to Brian's point. He said there were some things that good for her, things that were bad. I think that just makes it the games. Last year, she excelled despite dealing with injuries, massive life changes, moving camps, coaches, general flux in general. She was the highest ranked athlete coming out of semifinals from week number 1. With many of her scores holding strong throughout the extra 2 weeks that semifinal athletes had to perform. I think you would be hard pressed to find an athlete that, despite what the book says on her, riding that emotional wave, has had to deal with a more diverse set of odd circumstances that ultimately affect your placement on the leaderboard. You go back to 2019, she finishes 10th. Well, she actually finished 11th, but due to a drug test, bumped up to 10. So she was the last woman out that was cut before it got nailed down to 10. So she missed out on a tremendous opportunity to rack up points and potentially move up the leaderboard there. You go back to 2021, she was isolated due to a COVID exposure. She was basically working out by herself and was dealing with the uncertainty of watching her teammates drop like flies because of that testing. And she still managed a strong performance, finishing 11th. Last year, like I mentioned, major life changes, dealing with a back injury, all of that, she still finishes 4th. I think no matter what, these curveballs and ups and downs that fit you, that don't fit you, will show up at the games. But I think she has proven, as well as anyone given those circumstances, that she can handle them and still be in contention in a really big way. And I think that with being settled in Naples for a full year, having a solid crew around her with that brute strength crew, I think, like you mentioned, brute's going to show up in a big way, and she's going to capitalize on that by making the podium.
Brian, second place overall. Who's going to be?
Annie Thorsdottir.
Okay. This is getting good.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just can't discredit the last 2 times she showed up in individual competition. The only person in the field that's beaten her in any of those competitions is Laura Horvath, and she's done it twice. And when you look at the performances, it's just kind of classic Annie. There's nothing worse than 10th place at Rogue. 2 years ago at the game, she did add some bad performances. Most of them come on running events. I would say the one thing that anyone wants to argue against me here is that we already have, running being a critical element of 2 of the workouts. So that, that could be in her favor. But I would actually expect, if that is the case, that those are her 2 worst workouts of the weekend, and everything else is about 15th or better with several top 5s and enough to keep her in the podium hunt. So I'm taking her second.
All right, Lauren.
Thank you for setting me up, Ryan, with all that analysis, because I also have Annie in second. Put her on the podium.
Okay. I'll just defer to Brian on that one, but not to repeat. That brings us to number 1. I'm pretty sure
I think we're unanimous.
Be unanimous on this. It's hard not. I'm going to pick Laura Horvath here. I think she was absolutely in contention for that top spot even before Mal O'Brien made the choice that she made to not compete this year. And I do agree with Brian that she just gets overshadowed sometimes. And I think this is going to be the chance for her to finally grab the spotlight. Are we all in agreement on that? Because if we are, that this is the question I want to throw out there.
What is?
The question is, if she does win, is the narrative that sort of develops is like, yeah, well, that's because Tia wasn't there.
For who?
For Laura.
Okay.
And I think that will probably be for anybody. But let's go with Brian's theory here that she's going to win this thing running away. All right. And will she do enough by doing that to make people look at her and say, yeah, she is absolutely the fittest on earth. She deserves to win. And there's none of this, well, Tia wasn't there talk.
She's going to deserve to win regardless. But that's almost like it's not
the same conversation when Frazier didn't compete the first year.
Sure.
Would Justin Medeiros have beaten Matt Frazier?
It's like a impossible scenario to answer with like uniformity. It's almost not a good faith question. I'm not saying on your end, I get it. But like people still say, oh, like, Rich would have beat Matt, 2015 or 2016. It's like, you're just missing the point at this point.
Agreed. And that's why I want to throw it out there, because this is the argument I like.
Like a couple things, like, so in the open air, the women's division. So I think you're touching on, like, all of us have the same person at the top. But one of the reasons why I had some, new people below is I just wanted to throw some historical stuff out there. In the open era, the women's division has seen a brand new athlete on the podium 10 of the last 12 seasons. And when there's a change in champion from one season to next, on average, at least 2 of the podium finishers from the previous year also change over. It's actually higher than that. The first 3 years it happened, 2013, 14, 15, all 3 podium finishers were new from the previous season. In 2017, there was just 2. So 11 of the 12 podium spots were different athletes when the title changes hands. I think in general, we just have a hard time unanchoring ourselves from what could be.
Right.
So when we see that massive changeover, it's like, oh, well, it's just because he's not here. Well, why are they not here?
Right.
Is a great example.
Mhm.
And this is not to take anything from Tia. Why is Tia not here? Because she couldn't complete the season as is because pregnancy and stuff like that.
Right.
So in that moment, that snapshot in time, that means she is not the fittest.
Mhm.
Could she come back and basically prove that when she's at full strength, she still is? Sure, but that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I hope that's the approach people take, because if Laura does win, if we are not talking about her as now one of the best in the sport, and you can go back several years, but you have to include her in this conversation given the body of work. Like if that performance doesn't convince them and people are still saying, yeah, but what if Tia was there? Like, I just feel like that accomplishment from Laura should put her solidly in that conversation regardless, if that makes sense. That was kind of convoluted.
Say that again.
So I'm just saying, if she wins, if Laura wins, it should do enough to put her in the conversation of being, yeah, she's one of the best of all time. Because I think, to Brian's point, she gets overlooked in that. This should make that not happen anymore.
I hope
And
so.
my
I think
hope is
it's
that's how people
yeah. I think that's how people should look at it. And if they look at the stats, and if they look at the season, and if they look at the sport as a whole, they'll think that. But you're always going to have people who make silly comments like that.
Yeah. I mean, because you look at Laura's body of work, right? Like, she's only been around since at the game since 2018. She's still, you could argue, entering her prime based on her age.
Mhm.
And she's going to have 4 podium finishes. And if she wins, a gold medal around her neck. That puts her in elite company. Obviously, Tia's at the top. I think Annie's next behind her with I believe 6 podiums. But then you have someone like Katrin that has 4 podium finishes under her belt, and
won't be 5.
and then you also look at the runway ahead of Laura, and you're like, okay, she's on the what do we call it, the Mount Rushmore of female athletes already. I think you can make that already is the case. But I think then you start to project out and look that, like, dude, she could be the second best to do it, if possible, based on how career is going. And I think that's what she deserves at this point, to talk about what she can do and not what she hasn't done or could do in with someone else around.
Yeah, I think Barkley said it well here in the text, the chat. Part of the test is being there to take the test. Yes. And I think that the big answer to this question, Sean, is how the broadcast portrays this season for the women's. And I think that it's perfectly fair to lead the weekend by saying, let's look at who's not here, because it is pretty uncommon that half of the top 10 from a previous year doesn't show up at all. And it's actually more, it's like 8 of the top 15. Or 8 of the top 18 or something like that. But anyway, we could look at that at the start of this, and then we need to drop that, and we need to focus on the athletes that are here, because that's all the athletes can do. They can't control who shows up or who doesn't show up. They just show up and have to beat everyone that's on their left and on their right. And if she does that, then no one can take that away from her.
Yeah. And I mean, and let's be honest, Tia's wake has created, I've used this term, it has created waters that are tough for people to navigate at the top. During her reign, Laura is the only athlete to repeat podium in back-to-back years. And you look at, and even just kind of digging into Laura a little bit, on like her capabilities relative to what's been announced, she's going to love the lift. She's going to love the bike, whatever that ends up being. She's going to love the pig chipper. Like, there are elements that have been announced that I think she's excited to do. And then you throw in the game's atmosphere that we've talked about already. And it's, I don't know. Someone mentioned that she's due her flowers, and it's exciting to see that for sure.
Yeah. Well, it'll be exciting. So we're ready. More information should be getting trickled out here. I've said before, there's a couple things that I know are going to get announced, and I'm like, come on, because I want to talk about it. So hopefully those are going to be in the coming days. The schedule's out as well too. They posted that on the CrossFit Games Instagram account. Like the competition schedule for the week is out. So
cool.
Yeah, if you're going to be in Madison, you'll be able to check that out. It's age groups and adaptives are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're going to crown champions Thursday. Then teams and individuals take over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that schedule has more specifics on it. You get in what, Sunday?
Sunday.
Brian, you're getting, when are you getting?
Tomorrow.
Dang, really? Okay, wow. All right. You're going to get the first one. Boots on the ground.
Yeah, because your brother lives there, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Spend a couple days with him.
Okay. Lauren and I get in Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll have a lot of coverage from on site. We are going to, fingers crossed, try to be going live every night from probably the hotel restaurant.
Yeah. The bar.
Stop by, say hello.
Yeah.
I will say one quick thing. I thought Wex asked a great question.
What is it?
Is there a big name that will get cut on Saturday?
Oh, men or women? I don't want to
Either.
do this because now this gets. Yeah,
I know. I just thought it was a great question.
It
is a great question, and we'll leave it at that.
I don't know. I mean, doesn't it happen every year where someone's like surprisingly in trouble?
Sure.
It depends like what the tests are. You know, like if.
I think we're much more likely to see a perceived big name miss the cut on the men's side than the women's side. I think there's a bigger gap from like the top 15 to 20 women to the bottom 20 women than there are from the top 15 to 20 men to the next 10 men. I think like if you go down 30 deep in the men's field, there's still a lot of opportunity for what you just talked about, Sean, the order of events that come out, even if it's just one little thing that there's just a slight bias towards weightlifting earlier in the week than gymnastics, that can make the difference 1920 to 21-22. And that could be the case where, like we had 2 years ago, where we just missed out on a Chandler Smith, Sam Cornway. They're not one of the podium contenders, maybe, although they both podiumed at a major offseason competition in the last 2 years and missed the cut in 2021. So I think more likely on the men's side.
Yeah. And look, all right, I'll throw someone out there because I think he's going to do well. So I think it's going to be like a feast or famine. I could see maybe Noah Olson being in trouble.
Really?
I could.
Oh, interesting.
Depending on if he has his typical go out hard, hey, I'm just going to enjoy the competition and here I go. And, if that happens. But if you just want to say a big name, I'll put that one out there. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to have a really good games. But that would not be a moment for me if you were getting.
Oh yeah, I was trying to think if anyone because
there I throw down the gauntlet.
Inevitably, there's something pops up where someone gets a tweak or a twist or something, and they're like not 100%, and you don't find out till afterwards. And I'm curious who I'm trying to run through names in my mind. But also when someone asked that, I was like, do any of the 10-year guys stand a chance to miss out?
I think maybe Cole Sager could be in there too. Yeah. It just depends on what happens. But I do think so Noah, please don't hate me. I do think Noah's going to do well, but I'm just like, yeah, what if he does blow up in a couple of tests? I almost said the E word.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to jump in there? I just jumped in.
Sheena wrote Jamie Simmonds.
Ooh. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, could happen. All right. I'm the only one that's going to throw a name out there.
We just all left you, Sean.
Well, like I said, I'm going to put out my picks 1 through 40, so you can see all the 20 people that I think are going to miss the cuts this weekend.
That's a good tease, right?
Nice. Nice segue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, we'll all be in Madison. We're going to try to go live on our YouTube channel, time TBD,
and Instagram.
Yeah, and Instagram. Lauren, you're going to be doing like some Death By stuff live on there, right? With the Death By crew, as many of those guys that show up. So it'll be on Instagram. We're going
to have
live.
Some good conversation. We're going to try to get on YouTube too.
Yep. Yeah. We'll be around. Please come say hi if you see us. If you guys are going to be on site, always love talking to people. Brian's got you covered over on Be Friendly Fitness, so be sure to check out his stuff, and we'll see what happens. We got a couple of interviews slated to be released, audio versions that you can download here in the coming days. Tomorrow we'll have Shahad Boudebs. Lauren talked to her, and then Sunday she had a really good conversation with Brent Fikowski. Talked a lot about the PFAA and the things that they are working through, and then we'll have all kinds of stuff that's going on next week. So it should be a lot of fun. Anybody got any parting thoughts here before we say goodbye and get ready to put our heads down and have a week go by in a splash?
I was just gonna say enjoy it. I don't know. Yeah. It feels like it takes like the couple of weeks leading up. You're like, oh man, the games are almost here. And all of a sudden, bam, they're gone, and we're sitting there Sunday night, talking about someone's PR, or we're, talking about the season being done on Monday morning as we crawl back to the airport. But
I have a late flight out Monday, which is rare.
I do too, and it's going to be so nice.
Disc golf set Monday morning, Sean?
Ooh, don't tempt me with a good time, bro.
bringing my disc, Brian. So we better get a couple rounds.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's right. We didn't do dark horse and most improved. Thank you.
That's a good point.
Thank you, Megan.
Oh,
Pump fake on the end.
Megan is the honorary producer of the show. Thank you.
I'll do it quick.
Okay, yeah, I'll throw mine out there. Let me get my list. Let's see. Women's Rookie of the Year. I got Olivia Kerstetter. I'm going with her.
Oh, okay.
Dark horse. I'm going to go with Sydney Wells. And the most improved, I'm going Ellie Turner.
All right.
Oh, you copied my homework.
Really?
Almost. I'll talk.
I did not put a Rookie of the Year. I guess they do both. So dark horse, Karin Freyova. Most improved, I'm gonna go with Paige Powers because she was a spot behind Alex.
Oh, that's
Gazan.
a good one. Yeah.
So
I'm a big.
She's got an extra spot lower on the leaderboard last year to work with, and then Rookie of the Year. That's tough. I'm gonna follow Brian's lead. I'm gonna go Manon.
Oh, that's a good one.
She's finally there.
Okay. Brian, what do you got?
Yeah, I am going to go with Magnon Angonis for Rookie of the Year. I think that the Belgians sweep the Rookie of the Year this year. Briella and Magnon, after blowing it last year in the quarterfinals, they have a little redemption. For the dark horse, I was going to go with Katrin, but Sean's already talked her up so much, so I'm going to give Alexis Raptis some love here that we haven't talked about as all. She's I think the one name from that group of 6 in the North America East that we haven't mentioned. 10th place last year, and really, I mean, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about her overall, and I think that that's probably a mistake. I think she's going to be in the final heat for majority of the weekend. I'm not sure, like it's so strong at the top, so I don't know what the ceiling is for her, but don't count her out. And then I'm going to go same kind of vein that I did with the most improved on the men's side and cheat the system a little bit. I'm going to take Bethany Flores. Because once again, it's like, I mean, we have this group of women in Annie, Katrin, Jamie, and Bethany that are all coming back into the individual competition this year. We don't necessarily know, kind of going down the line, what the top end potential for any of them is, and especially Bethany. Like people were looking at her as possibly top 10, possibly top 5 podium 2 years ago. She hasn't competed in the last 2 years. She's back. It's crazy, the stuff she posts on Instagram that she's like, I haven't really done this at all. And then at semifinals, I just did it. And it's like, feels like the same thing going into the games, but she's taking care of her body from what it looks like. And if she lasts the games, I think she can last the cuts, and that'd be great to see her in the competition all 4 days.
We've gotten some great Spirit of the Games.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Let's get Lauren. What are your picks?
Dark horse, I had Sydney Wells is as well, but I also think Christine Kohlenbrander could be a dark horse for me.
Okay.
So
I really like that. I really like the Christine Kohlenbrander pick. She reminds me of Spencer Hendel in 2015. I feel like she's already one of the strongest athletes in the field. She's set that aside this year to focus on everything else, and it could pay off for her in a big way.
My most improved is also Ellie Turner, and then Rookie of the Year, I have Kelly Baker.
Oh, okay. Good mix there. And I think a lot of people saying Annie Thorsdottir for Spirit of the Games in the chat. Saw Fisa Gaffi as well. I could see Annie being Spirit of the Games.
I can see Bethany too.
Yeah.
The Spirit of the Games is such a wild card because the criteria is unknown. It's like if you podiumed, can you also get Spirit of the Games? Yeah, why not? If you don't even make the cuts, could you get Spirit of the Games? Yeah, why not? If you're a team, could you get it? It's happened before. So there's like so many variables. I feel like that's a really difficult one to project.
Yeah, it's like based on feel, right? It's like that weird, like you just kind of know.
Yeah.
Usually at this point, it seems like it goes to a veteran, and it's someone that they've been keeping an eye on for multiple years in a row, which makes someone like Annie a great potential candidate.
Yeah, I think I would put Annie Thorsdottir as the odds-on favorite for that one. So, okay, that's gonna do it. After this, it's all about the CrossFit.
I'm going to throw a name out there. Just
throw a name out
there.
there.
Spirit of the Games, Ariel Lowen.
Oh yeah, that is a really good one.
Okay,
I can see that.
All right.
Good options.
Like I said, there will be hopefully more information coming soon. There's some big things that I know they got to announce here sooner rather than later. One of which is anyway. Yeah, there's a lot just where people can watch. That'd be nice. Hopefully that's coming out soon. And yeah, so just keep your eye on the CrossFit Games Instagram page. And again, we got interviews coming out with Shahad Boudebs. That'll be out tomorrow. Lauren did that. That'll be audio only. And then we have Brent Fikowski. That gets released Sunday morning, audio only as well. So whatever you get your podcast, you can listen to that. And then, like I said, we're just going to have a ton of content next week.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Rest up, everybody. It's going to be a blast. It's going to go fast, though. And really looking forward to seeing how this whole thing plays out. Thanks, everybody, for watching. If you're hanging out with us on YouTube, really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Cannot thank you enough for being a part of this. For Lauren Khalil, Brian Friend, and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodlands. Take care of each other. Be better.